week's little update and on our market view stuff. And I just wanted to go over, so last week was really an interesting week, and it brings up a few things that I do want to talk about. One of them, so this is the SPX here on my screen. And you can see last week it was looking kind of dark there for a little bit. Market was going down pretty steeply. Here on Thursday, we hit the bottom. It kind of looks like a support level if you draw a line right there, huh? Let me get a drawing tool. I'll do a price level. Yeah, it stopped over here previously. Right about there again, right? So it hit a little bit of support and then bounced back up very aggressively right there. So we can talk about what was going on in the market that made it do this. And let's get back. That's not what I wanted. Let me turn my notifications off. Where'd my mouse go? There it is. Notifications off. Sorry, guys. There we go. I want to go to this. So we're basically in the middle of earnings season, right? We've got earnings coming in, and some of the things that we're hearing as these earnings come out is that these big tech companies are really increasing their spending that was going on, and that had people nervous that they were spending so much, and we were getting this sell-off here in the techs, which are making up, right? We like to be in those stocks, right? The stocks that are carrying the S&P 500, the Mag 7, Mag 10, Mag 50, however many you say, that are kind of carrying the index. The Mag 7, I think they make up about 80% of the S&P 500 gains. But those things started taking some hits here, and I honestly was like, okay, cool. We've got protection on. Our put positions would increase in value as the market goes down. Hopefully, we'll get it to go down. We talked about this at the beginning of the year, that we're expecting this year to play out a lot like last year did, where we started off the year okay, and then we expected a nice little pullback of somewhere between 10 and 20%, and that we'd be able to cash out on some of our puts and add a whole bunch of shares and then off to the races again. Last year we had a great year. Market gained 16% by the end, and we were just hoping. And so I was a little bit disappointed when things really rebounded on Friday, in that bar right there, and then continued higher again today. And so I was kind of a little bit disappointed. So when market does start to turn, things start to go down, a lot of people start to panic and worry. We're trying to teach you guys to be patient, and to enjoy those drops as much as you enjoy the big bull markets. Let's see here. So that's kind of what happened last week. For next week, and this is just things that are coming up. For next week, we got President's Day, so the market will be closed. We expect that the big boys will start going on vacation around Wednesday, Thursday. By Friday, they're all gone. So we'll have potential for a little bit of liquidity crush when we get here in the trading on Friday. There may not be as much money out there playing. We still have earnings going on. I'm interested in this Walmart one right there. That looks interesting to me. The big picture I want to talk about here too is that a lot of this is seen as sector rotation. And the big boys are just, they're kind of been bailing out of these. They're not really bailing out big uh, on the tech stocks. What they're doing is they're rotating some money out into more of the older stocks. If you go down, and I have another article on here that kind of said it a little bit better. People are rotating out of these big tech stocks and past it into Caterpillar instead of Microsoft, right? Yeah, market rotation investors are selling 21st century innovators to buy 19th century businesses. So there's basically a little bit of profit taking going on. There's some, we had a really good year last year. The market was up nice. We're making money on these tech stocks. We're making money on AI. Now those companies are spending a little bit more. People are worried about valuations. They're worried about jobs related to AI. A lot of people are worried about AI taking their job. It's a fact that AI might replace some of those jobs, but AI is also creating jobs because AI needs a bunch of babysitters to look at stuff because we still need human eyes on the things that AI gives us because it's not actually intelligent. So it's creating jobs in some areas, but people are just trying to back into things that are a little bit more safe, that's one of the things that makes, to me, Walmart look a little bit more attractive. And we can take a look at some charts here. And you can see it's had a nice little pops there, but we got earnings coming up here soon. I expect there's going to be a volatility crush after that, and then maybe we'll enter some more positions that way. Some of you, I think, have a couple of positions open there, but that's one of them that's on my radar anyway, and that we're going to be looking at. One of the other things I wanted to talk a little bit about is just volatility in the market, because whenever we get these drops in the market where people start to get worried, they become uncertain. And the best way that we have to measure uncertainty by market and participants is the volatility index, right? So when VIX is down here around 13, people are pretty confident, and then they start to get worried. VIX starts to go up, and we can go back and see some pretty big, yeah. So you can see this was just a little blip up into the 20s that we had last week. It wasn't super concerning. That's another reason why I was kind of hopeful that we would get a little bit bigger fear in the market. We might get a little bit more of a sell-off, because what we really want to get is at that 10 to 20% pullback in the market. Because once we do that, then we can cash out on some of our protection, buy a bunch more shares. We tend to wait until we see things reverse. Some of you may have Palantir. So Palantir was taking a nice little dive last week, and I was hoping for it to continue down a bit more so that we could get some of that value out of our puts. We had protection on, and then it started bouncing back. So we'll see what this next week holds, because this week is we've got a jobs report coming out that people are nervous about. Whoops, that's not what I want to do. This is what I wanted to do. We are still bullish right now, and but we've got some earnings reports coming out this week. We've got employment report, that employment cost indexes, important retail sales, factory orders, and that kind of stuff. The average work week, non-farm payrolls. That's what people are going to be looking at, is non-farm private payrolls. unemployment rate. That's what they're a little bit worried about. And then on Friday we get CPI. And if CPI is a surprise, this is just another reason for us to keep protection on our positions right now. If that data, if the jobs report, if there's a big surprise there, if CPI, there's a big surprise there, that Friday I'd be more concerned about. If the CPI surprises, we will have a market where most of the participants, the big boys, are gone. So we'll have a liquidity crunch. And if people start to panic during the liquidity crunch, the market can move really big, really fast. So we'll be watching that this Friday. There was a great article here for you guys to follow up and look at. Will Palantir stock hit 200 in 2026? We say yes. We think that it will, and we have positions that are, if that happens, will be nice. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why Palantir should still keep going up, even though it was going down recently. Market doesn't always make sense, and what we try really hard not to do is put ourselves in a position where we have to be right. We don't like that, because sometimes that's really difficult. It's a 50-50 shot on direction and stock. So you're going to be right some of the time, you're going to be wrong some of the time. We position ourselves so that we can be wrong and still be profitable. And that's really where we are. We've got a bunch of positions open that started getting hit this last week. We have protection on. I really wish that it would have kept going down. We'll see how things play out this week. If we get that nice little pullback over the holiday weekend, usually it gets slow around the holidays, and things just kind of fizzle. But if we get some surprising data, that's the only thing that I'm concerned about, is if we get a catalyst, a potential catalyst that comes along and changes everybody's opinion very quickly. On these holiday weekends, it can be a little bit worse than normal, the reaction. So we'll get some kind of a reaction. We're positioned so that no matter what that reaction is, we'll be okay. What we really would like to do is just have a big move in one direction or the other. We really don't care. I was kind of hoping, since we had that pullback, but now we're right back to kind of where we were. So if now Palantir, we could use if it turns around and heads down, we could use that and get a bunch more shares, because we still think it's going to be above 200 at the end of the year here. They've got a lot of people were worried about Palantir not having any big contracts and not having enough money, not making good on a lot of their AI investment. And now that they're getting a bunch of contracts after the fact, people are like, oh, valuation. And it's like, yeah, they've actually been beating estimates, and they're continuing to get contracts. They're beating estimates really well, and then the market goes down. That was kind of weird. It was unusual. But it's never about what happened in the past. It's always about what's going to happen in the future. So we don't know what's going to happen in the future, and because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, nobody does. We have guesses, but our guesses are 50-50, right? It's going to be up or it's going to be down. And when we're wrong, we want to still make money. So I was kind of hoping that Palantir will get it to drop a little bit more and be able to take some profits on our protection there before it turns around and hits back up. So for those of you that have that, that's what we're looking at. We're still looking for other positions to enter and get into here. We've still got Micron. For some of you, we've still got positions in all the big ones: Micron, NVIDIA. I'm trying to remember the list, but my brain's tired. Anyway, that's pretty much where we are this week, and I expect that, you know, if we get a nice surprise we get a nice surprise in those values, it could be the catalyst for a great big move. If it's a positive move, I would expect that volatility index would go down as the market would become more certain. And if it's a negative surprise, I would expect volatility index to turn around and go up. Right now, it's really hovering right around that really long-term average, and we just need the market to make a bigger than expected move in one way or the other. We just don't want it to be flat, and I think we'll see that. The Dow this week hit 50,000, set a record, so that was interesting, and that's the other unusual thing when looking at the indexes. Let's go to here. I don't know if I can blow that up. Yeah, you can see the Dow is, that was just today. The Dow's up really well in percentages. It's leading. The S&P was up a little bit. The Russell is up a little bit, and the Nasdaq is actually down, I think. So it's just the tech stocks they're pulling a little bit of profit off, and people are just trying to broaden their view on the market. Let's see here. Get back to, yeah, so where will our markets end this week? Higher, we think. We're bullish on Dow, SPX, and Nasdaq. Where do we think it will end in February? Up maybe 1.5%. And we have all these earnings reports coming up. I'm going to be watching Walmart pretty closely. And then we've just got the update. So anybody have any questions? This is going to be a short meeting because this is really, to me, it's just about being patient. We're kind of in a wait before the holiday weekend, see how some economic data comes out, and then we'll get back to things. But I think the market's a little bit in a wait and hold, where volatility is right around normal, and it just pulled back after the we just recovered the losses from last week pretty much so far. So it's just kind of okay, where's the market gonna go? We think it will be bullish, but even if we're wrong, we're protected. Any other questions from anyone? Oh, go through Meta. Let me look at Meta. Thank you, Nathan. So Meta, we've got a bunch of stock replacement strategy positions open where we've done debit spreads or long-term debit spreads. And so we've actually taken on some of those positions. We actually turned some of those positions in really good here. When the market came down, we bought back calls that we had sold and then purchased more calls and doubled up. For some of you that were in positions for longer, we were able to do that. And right now it pulled back this last week. It's in the mid-range of a lot of those positions, and we have those positions on. I think they're good till January of 27. So we've got them on all the year. It started to level off here, which looks like it's maybe forming some support right around these. If you draw that line, oh, come on, there we go. Yeah, it looks like there might be some support in this area right here. And it's bouncing to head higher. Meta is one of the tech stocks that everybody, they're spending money on AI. They might be in a position to take advantage of it a little bit better than other people, but we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, we still think that this is headed much higher. I think we have some 750s out there on the ceilings. and I think we can get back there pretty easy. It's already been there this, just recently, so I think it'll be back there again pretty soon. So we're just holding those positions, waiting for them to do what we think. So that's what we're planning on that. Any other questions? I'm just kind of waiting around. I know this is a short one. I wasn't expecting to do this today, but I wasn't expecting it till Friday, so I didn't have as much time to prepare. Otherwise, I might have had something else out there. Any other promising positions coming up? Yeah, I'm really looking at Walmart. I think Walmart might be. So we've got a lot of tech stocks, and if people are rotating out into the old bellwethers, those things that stick around forever, Walmart's on my radar for sure. And I think kind of one of the things we've already been talking about it a little bit, and we actually got a few people into a couple positions in some small accounts, and this is more appropriate for some of our smaller accounts because the options are not very expensive. So we did put in a couple of stock replacement strategies in a few of the smaller accounts for cheap. What we're just waiting for is for this earnings announcement to come out, because right now the options are expensive. They're a little bit high. And we'll just wait and see, get this earnings to go past us. Once the earnings go past us, the options will become cheaper, and we can either do some more stock replacement programs in some of the smaller accounts, or we might even put this in as a longer term stock hold. So we'll see, but that's on our radar for sure. Let me see here. All right, so I will call you, JP. I'll give you a call. I've got a few other calls tonight, but I will give you a call tomorrow for sure. And I've got both of your numbers, so. Anything else? Yeah, this was just a let's wait and see. We're kind of in being patient mode and waiting to see where things are going to roll out. But we are always looking for opportunities, and we're always looking for a chance to take some profits off the table, and reinvest those into other things. Yeah, the accounts have been, a lot of our accounts, yes, Nathan, a lot of our accounts are cash heavy right now. And a lot of that's just because of the profit taking that's been going on. And so, yes, a lot of accounts are still very cash heavy. But we're still keeping our eye out for new opportunities for stuff that will continue to grow over time. Yep. All right. Yes, exactly, James. We're keeping our powder dry for that correction. We want to, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. We want to be able to jump in pretty aggressively on some new opportunities, but we need things to, so we're value investors, right? And if things are trading at all-time highs, it's a little bit more we got to be a little bit more picky about which things are undervalued, and we just have to find those good deals that are out there. And sometimes if options get cheap enough, then it's like we can do stock replacement strategy and do that instead. But we do want to have money set aside so that we can really dive in on those cheap stocks that are going to head higher over time. So, but we are keeping our eyes open anytime, because even when everything's big and everything is really high and we're setting record highs, there are probably still some things out there that are undervalued because everyone's paying attention. They're not. It's impossible to pay attention to everything all at once especially for one person, and probably even a whole team. We can't get everything, and we always know that. And one of the things that I just some trading psychology, it's so hard to get in at the bottom, and it's so ridiculously hard to get out at the top, right at the top. And so it's way better to just resign yourself to the fact that you're not going to get in at the very best position. But you can, and we're patient. We actually wait for things to turn a little bit so that we're seeing some changes before we get in usually. Or we just have to have some kind of evidence that there is a bottom going to be around this place. We're not always right, but sometimes we're pretty darn close. And the same thing on getting out. It's like we're not always going to get out at the very best time, but we do pretty darn good. And the flexibility of the options in our positions just make that so much easier to do. And yeah, AI is definitely coming, James. It's still going. It's still there. It's still being improved, and people are coming up with different iterations and different. It's getting more mature as we go, and so it's kind of fun. So I like it. But all right. Well, we'll go ahead and say goodbye then tonight, and I will talk to you guys later. Those that I need to call, I will definitely get a hold of you. And if you need to talk to us, you can always do that too. Yeah, Lee, you're right. Exactly. Impossible. And yep, cool. Sounds good. We do. All right. We'll be able to talk to you guys more this week. Just give us a call if you have any questions on anything. We're always looking out for you. We're here, and we'll do whatever we can. All right. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.